Happening today, Broncos wide receiver Jeudy will appear in court for a second time after an incident with his girlfriend earlier this month. Now, News reporter Darius Johnson joins us live in the newsroom this morning with more details on the case and charges.
Hey there, Natasha. Good morning. Jeudy is out on bond, yet the charges still stand. His attorney is currently fighting back as his girlfriend, who called 911, backs down. Jeudy last appeared in court on May 13th after his arrest on May 12th. According to court documents, Arapahoe County deputies responded to a keep the peace call around 10:15 that morning. Jeudy's girlfriend says he locked up her wallet, a car seat, baby formula, and their daughter's medical records in his car, preventing her from accessing it. Police then arrested him. In court the next day, she stated she did not consider him to be a threat and there was no physical contact. She said she only called police to have the situation monitored and then asked for the charges to be dropped. Right now, Jeudy is facing charges of criminal tampering with a domestic violence enhancer. Now, that enhancer was added because of their intimate relationship and because they do have a 1-month-old daughter together who was present during this incident. Jeudy did not enter a plea during his last appearance. However, his attorney argues there is a lack of evidence since there was no threat of violence. Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett spoke after Jeudy's arrest, saying in part, quote, "Things happen and we just have to learn from them." He was released on a personal recognizance bond the day after his arrest, and he is expected to have his second appearance at 1:30 this afternoon. Gary, of course, we will be there and we will have more on 9 News at 4 this evening.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Thanks for the update, Darius. Appreciate it. This morning, Greeley police are still looking for a man they say shot someone who was out washing their car. Then that person stole the car. It all started Monday morning on 5th Avenue, not far from the UNC campus. Police say 33-year-old Cole Graves tried to steal one of his neighbor's cars, and when that failed, he ran away, shot someone else, and then took their car. That person is expected to survive. Police did chase Graves for a while, but they lost him after he blew through a railroad crossing. They say he nearly got the car hit by a train. The stolen car is a 1999 Toyota Corolla with Colorado license plates. It does have some windshield damage. If you see the car or Graves, you're asked to call 911.
Right now, high winds and snow are making it hard to recover a man's body after an avalanche at Rocky Mountain National Park. The avalanche happened Sunday morning on Mount Meeker. 1 man died, 2 others were injured. Rescuers found the man's body last night, but bad weather has kept them from moving it. The Colorado Avalanche Information Center says the avalanche started naturally. This morning, rescue teams are looking for a missing person after a deadly accident on Lake Pueblo. 1 woman died on Sunday when a boat flipped near the North Shore area of the lake. On Monday, the coroner said she is a 38-year-old woman from Pueblo West. At least 10 others were hurt. 1 man is still missing. Rescuers plan to go out last night to use sonar in their search if winds calm down.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife says going into water that cold without a life jacket is really a gamble, and most of the large bodies of water in Colorado don't hit 70 degrees at any time in the summer. Those that do, that will happen in July and August, so it's really cold right now. This early in the season, a lot of lakes and reservoirs are still getting a lot of that snow melt, so if you wind up in the water without a life vest on, you don't have a lot of time.
Once you get to the surface, you have honestly seconds, if not just minutes, to get oriented. You start losing dexterity very quickly. So the use of your fingertips and fingers, we oftentimes do hear about, potential leg cramp. I've experienced that hitting cold water, cramp in your arm, and again, trying to stay above, keeping your head above water in waves as well.
Yeah, you got to have that life vest on. Grant Brown, CPW's boating safety manager, who you just heard from there, says your swimming ability doesn't usually matter unless you're really close to shore.
Oftentimes this stuff happens, you could be a ways away. We've had people drown just feet from shore. You go to stand up. I mean, if you can't touch the bottom, you can drown. We've had folks that I think we had recovered an individual that was about 5'7", drowned in like 6 feet of water. So you might go to take that last swim and try to stand. And if it's above your head, that could be all it would take.
Now, this doesn't mean that swimming is off limits in Colorado's lakes and reservoirs in May. They typically have specific safe swimming areas near shore that are segmented off by buoys. In the case of boaters and people on paddleboards or kayaks, though, it's important that they're wearing a life jacket. Even with the risk of hypothermia, once you're in the water with your life jacket on, you greatly increase your chance of survival.
This morning in Uvalde, Texas, people are mourning. The first funeral services for the 21 lives lost in the elementary school shooting started on Monday. 19 students and 2 teachers were shot and killed at Robb Elementary School last Tuesday. Police have not given a motive for the shooter yet. He was also killed nearly an hour or an hour and a half after breaking into a classroom. After a mass shooting like this one, there are promises to remember the lives lost. But what about the lives that are left? For the surviving family members, friends, and neighbors, their lives are forever changed too. Here's 9 News reporter Noel Brennan.
I'm glad I'm here. I think it's important to remember and to listen to these kids' stories.
No connection to a name is needed. The impact of Columbine ripples to a mom.
It's hard.
Like Sarah Woods.
So when I read these names, I imagine, what if this is one of my children's names on here?
13 names are memorialized here, and trauma lingers for the living.
You just cannot imagine the extent of the emotional damage and the ripples that go out and out and out.
Holly Dexter advocates for survivors of gun violence. Her brother was shot when he was 7.
He survived, but he has lived with a bullet in his brain and has a lot of complications from it, not to mention extreme PTSD that just doesn't get fixed.
She worries for her brother and every shooting survivor.
It's really sad to me how forgotten the survivors have been. They're still living the nightmare of it every day, and there's so little support for them.
Support the community of Uvalde, Texas will need.
Every child in that school is going to have PTSD for the rest of their lives. Their childhood was taken from them in that moment.
Holly thinks about the kids, the parents, the police, the EMTs who responded.
The trauma that leaves on everybody involved. There are a lot of victim services that are available in the immediate aftermath of a crime or a shooting, but there's nothing that goes on a long-term basis the way it does, like for veterans of war.
The impact of lives stolen ripples on and on.
Their lives don't move on. They still have to live with it forever.
Holly Dexter wants us all to think more about the people left behind after the shootings, too. She says that journalists can do a better job by continuing to tell stories about survivors after the initial headlines become history. If you are struggling and need someone to talk to, Colorado Crisis Services is available 24/7. That's the number on the screen. Call 844-493-8255, or you can text the word TALK to 38255.
And one thing you want to know about the weather today, going to be chilly with some rain showers. Only 50s to the mid-60s today. Then tomorrow the rain showers gradually end with 50s and low 60s.